A very good evening to everyone, and we are back with our webinar for the day. That this is 29th August, and we are with 2097th webinar. We are doing live today at 8 p.m. As you know that nowadays we are running through a series of webinars wherein we are hearing, we are talking, and we are listening to the researcher, the expert, the key personals from tourism, hospitality, and aviation background, those who are into this particular profession in either through industry's experience or for education. One such personality, Dr. M. Priyadharshini ji, Assistant Professor, Coordinator, Tourism and Travel Management Program, Vocational B.Voc, Tourism and Hospitality from Stella College, Chennai, is with us today. And she is going to present Ecotourism in the Urban Environment, an NDVI study of Adyar Eco Park, Chennai. This is going to be very interesting case study. And let's see what ma'am has to say all about this particular project. And before coming to her, let's quickly go through few slides of ICSI and what this concept and what this convention is all about, and why we are organizing this, and why is Feast. What is Feast? Let's just quickly go through that. So ICSI believes in Vasudhaiv Kutumbakam. We are the chamber for service industry, and we believe that services as an important part of our society for our living beings and to make humanity more sustainable to live. And that's what we believe. And Feast. Now, talking about Feast, it was established way back in 2001. And when we say Feast, why Feast? Because when we see tourism industry as in hospitality and aviation, along with that, we have many organizations associated with that, which are lobbying, which are into the intermediaries between government and providing services to them and taking care of the business part of the industry part and the promotional part aspect. Here is the list. You can easily see Indian and international organization. But what about education? What about educators? What about the skills? Because this industry needs the manpower. With any industry, not just service industry, not just tourism industry, every industry needs manpower, and that should be skilled. And here comes the role of educator, the vocational study providers. And where is the organization for that? So we thought way back the heads, the management heads, the presidents and the director general of ICSI, they thought of creating such a forum where all the educators from tourism, from hospitality and aviation unite and talk about skills, academics, research, and policy making together, combining what we say industry academia relationship. And then it comes the forum of educators and skill providers for tourism. And when we say tourism, it includes hospitality and aviation as well. So we have conducted many conferences and annual convention regarding to Feast. And this year we are celebrating the 22nd annual international convention in Bhubaneswar, Odisha, Hotel Senditars, with a theme artificial intelligence in tourism and hospitality education. So technology plays a very important part, and we have seen this post-pandemic also. This is the convention organizing committee from India and abroad, of course. They are into the advisory panels and the organizing team. As the convention is for 2 days, so this is a quite glimpses of the program that we are presenting there, the technical sessions. And day 2, we have specially kept for the educational researchers, wherein they can come, they can present their research papers that we are selecting through this process of webinars, which we have started from 16th of August, and it will go till 27th of September, International World Tourism Day, UNWTO. From UNWTO side. So these 14 topics, the researcher, the experts, they are coming every day and they're presenting, and you will see some very fine researches and expert opinions there in the conference on 5th and 6th October. So you all are most welcome, and even you can apply now as well. The information and the email and the contact number is given on your screen. So whatsoever your mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. And we have completed as I've told, 2097 webinars. All our webinars on different themes, on different aspects, but a broader umbrella of making education and skills relevant, vocational education relevant, service industry relevant. Everything is there on our website and our YouTube channel at the rate ICSI India Live. You can go there and you can check our playlist and the videos. So with this, please put your hands together to welcome Madam Dr. Priyadharshini ji. A warm welcome to you, ma'am, this evening from ICSI platform.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
We eagerly wait to listen to what you want to present to us today. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm happy to be part of this 22nd Annual International Convention, Feast, Forum of Educators and Skill Providers for Tourism. It's a golden opportunity for everyone to be part of it, to know about the stakeholders in tourism industry, to interact with them. And I feel humbled and honored to be part of it. So I will share my presentation now.
Sure.
Yes. So my research paper is on ecotourism in the urban environment, and I'm using this NDVI study to understand the vegetation cover in Adyar Eco Park. And ecotourism usually applicable to a fragile ecosystem or in a fragile zone, but here I've made an attempt and I'm doing a research on the urban ecotourism. So I have chosen Adyar Eco Park, which is a well-known eco park in Chennai, and it has been renovated. The restoration process has taken place, phase 1 and phase 2 and phase 3. The phase 2 and phase 3 are working on, and I'm going to discuss on how this ecotourism is actually booming in the urban environment. So urban ecotourism, it involves in exploring and immersing oneself in nature amidst the cityscapes and their surrounding. And this form of tourism, it mainly focuses on connecting people with nature within the urban settings, as well as fostering the awareness of the environment, preservation, as well as the community involvement. The objective of urban ecotourism is mainly to offer recreational experiences, mainly passive, to tourists, while also providing informative encounters regarding the indigenous ecosystem of the place, the biodiversity, as well as the lifestyle practices. So when we talk about urban ecotourism, when it actually began. So in 1996, the Blackstone Corporation, it actually defined urban ecotourism as a sustainable mode of travel to urban areas. And the concept of urban ecotourism, it was further expounded upon during the inaugural of the same Urban Ecotourism Convention in 2004 that was held in White Rock, Canada. And experts in ecotourism, they collectively acknowledge that ecotourism as a chance to provide both biological and social diversity that generates fresh employment opportunity for people, as well as enhance the overall quality of life, which was discussed in Urban Ecotourism Declaration in 2004. So the areas have been restored and it can be deemed suitable as ecotourist sites which provide aesthetically presented, supervised, and as well as artistically appealing. So this was said by Higham and Luck in 2002. Urban ecotourism has a greater acceptability because of its heightened capacity of urban location, as well as the potential to revitalize areas which has suffered over a period of time, the industrialization, urbanization, the ever increasing traffic, as well as human intervention. And if we are focusing on developing ecotourism, we need to stick to the standards of ecological sustainability, which becomes a way to gain economic as well as the social benefits for the local community. What are the positive aspects of ecotourism? So ecotourism, it is mainly urban areas will have pockets of natural habitat like parks, gardens, green spaces that usually supports the local flora and fauna. And it can also showcase the species, and it mainly emphasizes the conservation effort which aims at preserving the urban biodiversity as well as mitigating the impact of urbanization on the native habitats. And it educates the visitors about the natural history, the ecology, and what are the environmental challenges that we see. Adyar Eco Park is one such example because it is an urban forest which is located amidst a busy city. The sustainable practices of the urban ecotourism is like responsible waste disposal, energy conservation. It supports local businesses that prioritize the eco-friendly initiatives. And it also involves the community, like in urban areas, which often involves the local community, like collaborations with schools, academic institutions, community organization, the local residents, mainly to foster a sense of stewardship as well as pride for the local natural resources. Urban ecotourism incorporates these elements to create a holistic experience that showcases both the natural as well as the cultural heritage of the city. Ecotourism, it mainly highlights the urban wildlife sanctuaries as well as it raises awareness about the importance of coexisting with the native species. This study of Adyar Eco Park, it mainly focuses on spatio-temporal analysis between 1990 to 2020. So I have given a 10 years gap to analyze how the vegetation has changed over a period of time. And this is a tropical dry evergreen forest which exists in fragmented patches along the Adyar estuary. And there is an Adyar Creek, which plays a very important function as a high tide and a low tide area, which acts as a storage medium, as well as it gently releases the water to replenish. And the flora along the creek always plays a significant role, and it attracts variety of migratory birds. So the Adyar Creek was formed by the backwaters of Adyar Estuary, which is a well-protected ecology amid the Chennai's busy metropolis. So the literature review, there are authors, researchers, scholars who have examined the importance of the urban ecotourism. So the urban ecotourism, that is the author who was discussing on sustainable tourism within an eco-city, which is an analytical study of Saiwa Oasis city in Egypt by Mr. Salim and his group of scholars, Salim, Mr. Shimi, where they made a presentation where they discussed on the importance of urban ecotourism, that most of the urban areas are facing the increasing population along with the growing middle class expectations, as well as the increasing number of interregional and domestic tourists. So they were highlighting why urban ecotourism is very important, why visitors pay a visit to these eco spots, what are the purpose, why the purpose is that they mainly understand the diverse lifestyle, the traditions, the local flora and fauna. And if we are planning and executing an appropriate, a well-designed, tailor-made designed plan for a particular eco park, it will sustain for a longer time. At the same time, if it is poorly planned, the tourism destination will have kind of disturbance. It disturbs the bird feeding habitats as well as wildlife. It can cause land erosion, damage to vegetation as well. The next research paper given by Adriani in 2013, who was mainly focusing on how urban ecotourism can reduce tourism impact on air quality in Bandung city in Indonesia. And what he has found out is that the development of tourism in Bandung city for the past decade, it has caused both positive as well as negative impact on social as well as the environmental aspects. Then the next research, a case study on Novi Sad by Jegdik Vasco and Grandink Oliver in 2016. They mainly focused on the concepts of urban ecotourism that recognizes the significance of ecotourism in facilitating the cultural exchange, environmental protection, sustainable development. And Novi Sad has all the potential, which would make it also interesting as a destination of urban ecotourism. Then comes the next one by Yang Yanfeng in 2018. He was discussing on by embedding the core ideas of ecotourism into urban tourism. And urban ecotourism is an extension of applying the ecotourism theory in the urban environment and how it can be significantly achieved by practicing the norms that we follow for an ecotourism and achieve the urban sustainability. And the next research was on Nature Park Amegar, mainly the transition from urban wasteland to a rewild ecotourism destination. So it was an exploratory research done by Mr. K. Home as well as Casperson. And they discuss exclusively on this particular nature park, Amegar, which is an exploratory case study. They analyze the option by reconstructing the history of how an extensive urban wasteland, which was formerly used for military purpose and a dump site, has been converted into a nature park in 2015. So this transformation was actually like how converting it will actually give a recreational experiences, interpretive facilities, as well as the ecotourism can provide job opportunity for the local community as they organize for several guided eco tours for the tourist. Then came the next research where it was done by the Kevitkovic, who discusses on how the possibilities for the development of sustainable urban ecotourism in a protected area, who talks about how the confluence of the two places, Sava and the Danube, which preserves the wetland as well as the forest ecosystem and the great species diversity. And they also discuss on how flora and fauna actually contributes for the development of the region. Then comes the next one. The next person talks about the alternative urban ecotours for responsible consumption and sustainability, that mainly it approaches on stimulating the responsible consumption, eco-friendly behavior. Then comes the next one who discusses mainly, the next researcher discusses on the Kota Kinabalu resident and tourist perception, how they value in pertaining the potential of the urban ecotourism, how preservation of green space is very important, especially in the cities, and they have used multi-methodological approach to reach. And also there was also another researcher, the researcher who was mainly talking about the landscape ecological theory. Landscape ecological theory, where every urban corridor has its own unique design. It should have its own way of development, an urban landscape setup, providing more healthier as well as livelier design on the green ecological corridor for the urban dwellers. And there are also the other researchers who mainly discuss on how ecotourism plays a very important role. So the literature review establishes that how ecotourism has been in practice for a very long time and how people adorn it to make sure that it is there in their own country, so that the urban green space is always maintained, which actually helps in providing more of recreational activity. Not only recreational activity, it also supports the local flora and fauna. Then comes the next literature review that mainly examines the vegetation coverage. So I have used the tool that is NDVI. So I have taken the satellite images and I have used the QGIS software to prepare the maps that it helps us to understand the vegetation cover of the eco park. So some of the reviews that mainly discuss on like why NDVI is very important, because you do not have to go physically to the ecological park or any vegetation or any forest area. Using the satellite image, we can find out how much of green coverage is there. So that's the purpose of using this NDVI. So here what they discuss is that like how NDVI plays a very important role in understanding the distribution of vegetation, as well as it teaches on what are the planning and the framework can be followed up based on the vegetation cover. So we can do annually, we can do it. At the same time, we can also have a time period of like 5 years gap, 10 years gap to understand how the vegetation cover is. So that is what I have done. So moving on to the research methodology. So this is the research methodology what I have adopted. So I have taken the satellite images from 1990, 2000, 2010 and 2020. And I have prepared a shapefile, and the shapefile has been used for understanding the NDVI analysis. And I have taken this Adyar Eco Park layout map from the master plan of the Eco Park, which is available on the public domain. And we can take, and with the help of that map, I was able to create the shapefile as well as the boundary, the shapefile, the boundary of the Adyar Eco Park. And the layout was superimposed on the Google Earth, and the study area was extracted based on digitization. So I have used this Landsat 4, 5, 7, and 8 with 1990 and 2000 with 60 meters resolution, whereas 2010 and 2020 30 meters resolution. And using the resolution merger, it's been I've used this 15 meters of resolution, and the source is also been given. So NDVI, what is NDVI is, it's called as Normalized Difference Vegetation Index, which is widely used to vegetation index in remote sensing as well as in geospatial analysis. These are the two important softwares to understand the vegetation and monitor the health as well as the density of the vegetation cover. So based on the photosynthesis activity, it will absorb more of the red color. Based on that, we can understand the vegetation, the vegetation, whether it is dense or it is moderate or it is very sparse. So based on the values that is being generated, we can identify the vegetation, whether it is low, moderate, or high. And I have, as I told you, I have used the remote sensing data, especially the high resolution satellite image. And it was mainly used to create a detailed maps of the Adyar Eco Park. And I have used this unsupervised classification. And unsupervised classification, the system will understand based on the cluster identification, and based on that, it will give you the output, whether it is dense vegetation, it's a moderate, or it is sparse. There are certain limitations which has been seen in this research paper, like external factors like the soil type, atmospheric condition, as well as viewing the geometry can have an impact on NDVI value. And sometimes the NDVI may not be accurate in areas where there is a dense canopy, like rainforest or sunlight that cannot penetrate to the lower vegetation layers. And I have used this unsupervised classification. It is okay for using it for an exploratory or for an initial exploration, as well as based on the objectives, we can decide whether we have to stop with the initial exploration, or further research can also be conducted based on processing, validation. So based on the satellite image, we are doing the analysis and giving the output. But if you want to further validate the research, field visit has to be conducted, and there the different types of vegetations to be recorded. From unsupervised classification, it has to be converted to supervised classification. And the entire research work is based on secondary data as well as the published articles. So this is the study area where I have extracted the study area from the satellite image, as well as I have used the Google Earth Pro. So Adyar Eco Park, it's considered as a unique ecological monument in the center of the densely populated Chennai metropolis. And you can also see the vegetation cover over a period of time, 1990, 2000, 2010, and 2020. The vegetation, it says that urbanization is one reason where we are losing the green space. So that is also the reason why we could not find more of the dense vegetation. So this is the Adyar Eco Park, the layout map which is available. And here, as of now, we are working on with the 58 acres of land is being exclusively used for the public to go around and view. The remaining 300 acres, it is like slowly it's being developed, phase 2 and phase 3. So as of now, the public is allowed only on those first 58 acres. So Adyar Creek, which actually originates close to a Chettinad Palace. So I will show a video now.
Yes,
So,
ma'am, it is visible.
Yeah, thank you. So this is the Adyar river where it originates. It originates in a place called Malaipattu Tank, and it is located in Kanchipuram district near Manimangalam, and you can see in near Manimangalam village. From there it originates, and then it takes its turn and go towards Chembarambakam Lake. And from Chembarambakam Lake, it again starts and it goes straight to the Chettinad Palace. And once reaching the Chettinad Palace, it just turns towards north of Chennai, and you can see that it takes a U-turn and again comes and joins back the Adyar River. And you can see the Adyar Eco Park as well as the shape of the Adyar Eco Park and the restoration work that's been carried out. So, as I said, that it originates from the Chettinad Palace. The creek initially it starts the course, it reaches towards the north, it takes a U-turn, and it also forms a cubal island. The entire of Adyar Punga, it encompasses of 58 acres, and it is bounded by Greenways Road to the south, the Town Planning Scheme Road to the northwest, South Canal Bank Road to the northeast, and the Santhom Causeway Bridge to the east. So the total area of the Adyar Creek and estuary is 358 acres, and phase 1, 58 acres of land has been restored. The government has mandated its rehabilitation as well as the establishment of Adyar Eco Park, which spans 58 acres, and the intention of rejuvenating the remaining 300 acres phase-wise, phase 3 and phase 2 and phase 3. So this Adyar Eco Park, it passes through after it from Chembarambakam Lake, it passes through Tirunirmalai, Tambaram, Manapakam, Alandur, Saidapet before it reaches the Bay of Bengal Sea. And the ecological condition of Adyar estuary has significantly deteriorated long time ago due to several factors. It is mainly because of the encroachment, the discharge of untreated sewage and the effluents, as well as the improper disposal of solid waste. As well as Chennai has underwent urbanization. So the sprawling of the urban area is also one reason where the estuary lost its original pristine condition, as well as its diverse range of flora and fauna. So the pollution that led to the degradation of the estuary, which was once a clean brackish water, which attracted a lot of migratory birds, and the loss of various species and the disruption in the role as breeding and nursery area for several fishes and shellfishes were badly impacted. So these were all some of the negative aspects. But after the restoration, we could slowly see the flora and fauna are slowly picking up. So based on the satellite image and the NDVI analysis, we can see that the Adyar Eco Park, how it has changed from 1990 to 2020. So 1990, with the 60 meters resolution, I was able to get that this was the dense, that is 7.8 acres of land has been dense, whereas 13.44 is just sparse. So sparse area is mainly the water body. So we can see that how the vegetation has changed over a period of time. So as per the analysis, we can see that the park vegetation cover in 1990 was 11% dense vegetation, around 7.8 acres, and 29% medium, whereas 40% sparse vegetation, around 27.16 acres. And the first phase of restoration of the Adyar Punga, that comprises a part of inland waterway that runs from the Adyar estuary and it arcs up to the Greenway Road, which began in 98. So 2000, we could see that there was no thick vegetation because that was the time where the restoration was taking place. Slowly, the stakeholders were taking a prominent role in rejuvenating the entire land. So there is 21% of medium vegetation is seen, 39% of sparse vegetation is recorded in 26.4 acres, and 40% in 27.3 acres. Comparatively, between 90 and 2000, thick vegetation has decreased from 11% to none. So this thick vegetation, it shows dense, but we do not know whether the vegetation plays a very important role in that particular ecosystem or it is an invasive alien species. So that can also be the reason, but we do not have, but since we have not done any, I have not done any field visit, the information is not clear. Whereas the NDVI in 2010, the result shows that there is a 3% dense vegetation and 26% of medium vegetation is seen, and sparse vegetation in 29.8 acres of land is being recorded. By 2020, the thick vegetation accounted for 14%, medium vegetation accounted for 40%, and sparse vegetation accounted for 20%. So there was like gradually the vegetation, the dense vegetation has slowly started to increase. And this is the accuracy assessment, which says that like how accurate the data is. And here the accuracy assessment, it says that 95.16% it is accurate based on the information that we could collate from the NDVI analysis. So accuracy assessment is mainly remote sensing, which refers to the process of evaluating the correctness of the information that is being extracted from the data, the remotely sensed data. And also random sampling, random sampling that points that are selected across the study area, which represents how the land has been covered and how the land is being used. So the classification is like, it is an unsupervised classification, which is taken by the system itself. So the NDVI analysis, vegetation coverage in 90 shows 80%. In 2010, it shows 73%. And in 2000, the vegetation cover was 60%. So 1990 showed 80%. And after the restoration, we can see that in 2000, it was 60%. By 2010, from 60, it has gone to 73%. And this was the stepwise measures has been taken by the government of Tamil Nadu, as well as the Pichandikulam forest consultants who have devised the ecological restoration of the Adyar Creek estuary. And by 2020, we can see the vegetation has increased to 74%. So the spatio-temporal analysis shows a fluctuation from 96% in 2000, 93% in 2010, and again 96% in 2020. So some drawbacks in the NDVI analysis is that when the satellite images are being taken, it can take only the vegetations, especially the taller trees that are visible. It can capture the information, but the vegetation below the trees are not being captured. So these are all some drawbacks which can be rectified when a field visit is done, and then we collect the information on ground truth, and then we can further create a very detailed map when we go in for creating an exclusive framework. The vegetation cover has also shown in the study area as an increasing trend of from 60 to 74%, whereas the others are going down from 40 to 26%, especially the dense vegetation, as the coverage is slowly progressing. And also the medium coverage has increased from 29% to 40% between 1990 and 2020. So the Adyar Eco Park is primarily, it consists of dense tropical evergreen forest, which contains nearly 160 species of woody plants. And it also encompasses 6 different types of vegetation, like you have tuberous plants, herbs, epiphytes, lianas, shrubs, and trees. And also screw pine, Carissa spinarum, Canthium dicom, or Mauritana. These are all some of the species that have been seen there. And the birds are like black-winged stilt, chestnut-winged cuckoo, egret, yellow backtails, or you have the pied kingfisher, white-bellied sea eagle, and cinnamon bittern. These are all some of the species that are seen in Adyar Eco Park. So when we talk about the Adyar Eco Park, how an eco park can be successfully retained for a very long time. A successful, sustainable urban ecotourism requires a holistic approach which balances the environmental protection as well as community involvement and visitor satisfaction. It it involves assessing a regular assessment of the environmental, social, as well as the economic impact of the eco park based on ecotourism activities. Identifying the stakeholders, educating the visitors about the local species and their habitats, as well as promoting the ethical viewing practices which can minimize the disturbance. The authorities who are responsible can possess an understanding of how the tourism system exclusively functions in every specific location. As discussed, it is like every destination is unique. Every destination has its own unique selling point, as well as it has its own stakeholders, and every destination should have a clear framework on how successfully it can sustain for a long period of time with ecotourism or any kind of tourism activity, but ecotourism exclusively on a place where the ecosystem is very fragile. And urban ecotourism is also that we take an additional step on understanding what is conservation, biodiversity, what are the importance of the protection or maintaining the vegetations that we have. So hosting workshops on topics such as urban gardening, compositing, renewable energy, waste reduction can actually empower the visitors with practical skills so that they can implement the sustainability practices at home as well. So some of the pictures of Adyar Eco Park, you can see the vegetation. The picture that you see on the right is the screw pine. Then you can see the view, you can see the Adyar, the river, the pathway, and the signages. So the eco park plays a very important role for everyone to understand why it is important to protect mainly in the in an urban area. Yes.
So, thank you so much, ma'am. It is a very informative presentation that you have given. If you allow, I want to ask one question regarding this particular research. So, like we have taken ecotourism as a theme area, and we have seen that the entire research is based on geospatial analysis. It is purely related to geography. So, yeah. So how we are connecting that research to tourism when it is purely from geographical point of view, how you will connect it to tourism?
Tourism at present, it needs It should understand who are the stakeholders, especially when it goes about for planning or drawing a framework. So
Right.
as an academician, I can give my input like how the vegetation is actually it spreads across the entire area, and
Mm-hmm.
what are the places where a restoration is required, or the main activity to know that like what kind of species are there, what measures can be taken. And every time when I say that for every 10 years I'm monitoring, say if instead of 10 years every 2 years I'm monitoring the vegetation, I will know that whether the vegetation is actually improving or it is degrading. So based on dense or medium or sparse, with that I will know where the actual problem is, and to enhance and retain the recreational activity I can give input to the authority telling that these are the places where the vegetations are well maintained, these are the places where the vegetation are declining or it is growing healthier. So that is the purpose of using these tools. That is, the remote sensing data is being used, as well as the GIS software is used for preparing the maps. And the NDVI analysis also being done in QGIS to have an understanding why the vegetation is growing or the vegetation is declining. So this way they will know that ecotourism is actually flourishing or it is declining. If it is flourishing, what measures can be taken? If it is declining, what measures to be taken? So this way, the scientific approach will help tourism to sustain for a long period of time. And now almost all the countries are using the remote sensing data. They're using the QGIS software, they're using artificial intelligence to understand how we can actually develop tourism into more in a much better way. So that was the reason why I have taken this spatio-temporal analysis.
Right. So that means this study will help the authorities to plan ecotourism in a more better way.
Yes, in a more better way, because you don't have to be physically present there. So
Hanji.
based on the data, I will know the vegetation is
Yes.
fine. If
Yes.
not fine, then I can go do a field study, understand what is the ground truth. Accordingly, I can change my plan, whether I can allow the visitors or I must stop the visitors for this many days or for few months, so that the restoration process takes place. So
Got
that
it.
way, the tools will always be useful.
Yes. Yes. Definitely. Thank you so much for
Yeah,
your lovely presentation and making
thank
us
you.
understand the things.
Thank you.
And we wish to see you in our convention coming in October 5th and 6th. So thank you so much, ma'am. And
Thank
we'll
you
meet
so
you soon.
much.
And with this, thank you, everyone. Thank you, our lovely audience, those who are watching us live on YouTube. This is Chitra Kapoor signing off for today, and we will meet tomorrow, same 8 p.m. with another speaker with another topic, but it is related to tourism and pet